If you've ever wondered what hobby royalty looks like, you can scroll back just a few years. What do you mean 30? And stop right there at 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards. That set stands at the far right end of the hobby timeline, punctuated by sets that changed the world forever. 1909 through 11 T206, 1933 Goudey, 1952 Topps, 1981 Fleer, 1984 Donruss, and 1989 Upper Deck. And to the right of that, I can't really think of anything because, for me at least, the center of the whole thing begins to unravel at that point. See, Upper Deck came along as the hobby boom was ready to peak and brought us all to the modern baubles we love/have. Tamper-proof packaging, anti-counterfeit holograms, chase cards, super premium photos on front and back of each card, thick white cardstock. And while we know today that 1989 Upper Deck is not really scarce, it's less plentiful than the other contenders of the era, Topps, Fleer, Donruss, Score. Yet those first UD cards are new enough and sturdy enough that there are plenty of actual perfect copies out there. All of that leads to an interesting scenario when we consider the most valuable 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards. Specifically, this list built from recent eBay sales figures for blazing PSA 10 specimens of each card. But of course, you can't talk about 1989 Upper Deck, and indeed, Upper Deck might not exist at all without starting here. So as things stand now, this looks like the most important baseball card of the 1980s. And it is, at least sort of. I mean, it's the first card of the set, 1989 Upper Deck, that changed everything. And it's the first card of one of the game's top 5 to 10 talents of all time. And well, it's been selling like gangbusters for more than 30 years now. So I won't mention that 1989 UD Griffey stands on the shoulders of 1980 Topps Joe Charbonneau and 1981 Topps Fernando Valenzuela and 1982 Topps traded Cal Ripken Jr. and 1983 Topps Ryan Sandberg, Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, traded Dale Strawberry, and especially 1984 Donruss Don Mattingly. Or 1985 Topps McGuire, or 1986 Donruss Jose Canseco, or 1987 Bruce Fields, for that matter. Nope, this is the card of the man, and the Griffey rookie sells for something like $600 in PSA 10 today. In 1989, when this card was issued, Randy Johnson was just the latest of 3 Johnsons to play in the major leagues, joining the Twins' Randy Johnson and the Braves' Randy Johnson. They could have had a Randy Johnson part, I suppose, but this is more or less a family channel. Anyway, the big unit was already scaring batters across the land by the summer of 1989, but it was a May 25th trade that sent him from the Montreal Expos to Griffey's Seattle Mariners that changed the world. Because not only did the Spos land Mark Langston, but Seattle also added Gene Harris, Brian Holman, and, as the PTBNL, Mike Campbell. I mean, Randy Johnson would go on to win 130 games and a Cy Young Award while striking out 10.6 batters per 9 for the M's. But how could he hold a candle to the aurora of Brian Holman? Come on. Anyway, collectors seem to like Randy Johnson III, so much so that his 1989 Upper Deck rookie card sells for about $75 in PSA 10. Nolan Ryan has been a baseball legend of one sort or another since he first took the mound as a wild youngin' for the New York Mets back in the 1960s. He spent the next couple of decades as the game's preeminent flamethrower, first with the California Angels and then with the Houston Astros. By the time the Ryan Express chugged into Arlington to begin the 1989 season with the Texas Rangers, he was the all-time strikeout leader and had 5 no-hitters to his name, a record or something. Even with all that, some still questioned his resume, and he was all flash, no substance. With Texas, though, Nolan picked up 2 more no-hitters, sailed past 300 wins, and bumped that K record up north of 5,700. It all amounted to more or less an automatic Hall of Fame plaque and a spot near the top of just about every baseball card list you can think of, including this one. Ryan's high number 1989 UD card, showing him tossing a football in a Rangers uniform, is a 35 item in perfect slab condition. I've written about this card before, but suffice to say that McGuire looks significantly Bunyan-esque here to make the most mere mortals feel physically inadequate by comparison. It also reminds us that McGuire was a monster slugger long before anyone ever heard of Andro, and that Big Mac made the 1998 a magical season for millions of fans still smarting from the 1994-95 strike. So yes, steroids, but also baseball cards, and home runs, and memories, and Rookie of the Year, and Bash Brothers, and 1985 Topps Olympic cards. This Upper Deck beauty sort of brings it all crashing back, and it's a $30 buy in PSA 10. In an era that saw the birth of the shortstop as a major offensive weapon, sorry Ernie Banks, Omar Vizquel was something of a throwback. Because while Ripken, Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, Nomar Garcia Parra, and others were tearing the cover off the ball, Vizquel made his hay with the Gold Glove defense and decent, but not great, plate performances. And while Vizquel has a steep climb to Cooperstown, he was a building block for those early Griffey Unit Mariners teams and an absolute cog in the middle for the great Indians teams later in the 1990s. Add it all together and you have a recipe for a $30 RC in PSA 10. Are you sensing a theme here? Those late 1980 Mariners were the breeding ground for multiple Hall of Fame caliber careers, and their third baseman fit right into that mold. Well, except for the fact that Edgar was a designated hitter in waiting. Still, the fact remains that Martinez was one of the great hitters of his generation, and his legend in the Northwest, along with his stellar plate numbers, of course, was enough to get him a plaque. Today, his Upper Deck rookie card is a $30 buy in PSA 10 condition. Ryan always shows up on the most valuable lists, but 2 in 1 set? Yep, thanks to our expansion to include the high numbers here. Nolan's first UD Ranger card, that high number one listed above, is iconic, but the only UD Astro card is also popular with collectors. Expect to pay about $30 for a graded copy in gem mint condition. Something that's been sort of lost over the years in the glut of cards from the late 1980s is that the 1989 sets are fairly loaded with rookies. In most cases, it doesn't matter too much, because 3 billion cards are 3 billion cards. But as you can see in this list, Upper Deck's debut issue maintains enough swagger that the rookies can come to the fore. And speaking of swagger, that's something Mr. Sheffield has excelled in for decades. Oh, and also hitting home runs to the tune of 509 in his 22-year career. Dude also had good enough OBP skills and speed to rack up 60-plus WAR. Sheffield has faced plenty of backlash over PED concerns and his general churlishness, but his UD rookie card is still a $30 get in PSA 10. By 1989, Cal was starting to take heat for his consecutive game streak, with detractors charging that his pursuit of Lou Gehrig was diminishing his overall game. Ripken weathered those slings and arrows and charged right ahead, kicking his game to another notch in winning the 1991 American League MVP award, his second. First was in 1983. By the time Rip sailed past the Iron Horse in 1995, his legend was cemented. The collectors had latched on forever. Today, the Orioles' hero Upper Deck debut checks in at around $30 in PSA 10. Ho-hum, another 1989 Upper Deck rookie, another $30 price tag for a perfect copy. In Schmaltz's case, it also... another Atlanta Brave ace. And another Atlanta Brave ace who landed in Cooperstown to boot, though Schmaltz took a few twists and turns to get there. Nonetheless, another popular rookie card from a landmark set and a fitting end to our list of the most valuable 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards.